Joe Rogan versus Catwoman, the battle of principles and claws. It was a day like any other, except it wasn't. The universe was about to watch the most bizarre ideological showdown of the century. On one side, Joe Rogan, the right-wing intellectual powerhouse, the self-made king of the podcast world. On the other, Catwoman, the agile, whip-smart, anti-establishment feminist cat burglar who believed men were the bane of her existence, or at least a major inconvenience. This wasn't a battle over territory or crime. No, this was a clash of ideologies. It was self-improvement versus chaos, traditional values versus unapologetic rebellion, and everyone knew it was going to be as messy as it was hilarious. It all began when Joe Rogan released a new episode of his podcast, a deep dive into masculinity, freedom, and how to survive the apocalypse. He was talking about the merits of lifting weights and the psychological benefits of doing hard things when suddenly his studio door burst open. In the blink of an eye, a figure clad in black leather and wearing a cat-eared headband walked in, flipping over a desk and landing gracefully on the floor. "Joe Rogan," the figure said with a sinister smirk, "we need to talk." Joe blinked, looking up from his microphone, momentarily speechless. Can I help you, miss?" She put her hands on her hips, letting out an exaggerated sigh. "Catwoman, obviously. Are you blind or just pretending?" Joe rubbed his eyes, trying to make sense of the situation. "Wait a second, Catwoman? As in, the Catwoman from Gotham? The one with the, issues with men?" She flashed a toothy grin. "Oh, I have more than issues with men, sweetheart. But don't worry, I've got a lot to say about your toxic masculinity and your whole self-improvement shtick." Joe, the embodiment of calm and collected, leaned back in his chair, giving her a skeptical look. "All right, here we go. Another one of these smash the patriarchy types. I'm all ears, Catwoman. Go ahead, hit me with your best shot." Catwoman immediately jumped onto the desk, knocking over a cup of coffee and kicking aside Joe's protein powder. "You see, Rogan, it's not enough to just lift weights and eat elk meat. That's not how you fix the system. You're too obsessed with individuality, like it's some kind of cure-all. But guess what? The patriarchy is alive and well, and men like you are out here thinking that working out is the answer." Joe laughed, leaning into the microphone. "Hold up, you're telling me that working out and self-reliance aren't part of the solution? That's pretty bold for someone who spends most of her time, well, stealing stuff." Catwoman narrowed her eyes, flexing her claws. "What's your point? The system is rigged. You men have spent centuries hoarding power, and now you're sitting here acting like everything's fine because you can bench press 300 pounds. Joe chuckled and leaned forward. Hey, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, but I know a thing or two about personal strength and taking responsibility for yourself. You know, self-improvement isn't about just getting swole. It's about having control over your life. Taking ownership. Something you might not get if you're too busy sneaking around in the shadows, swiping diamonds." "Diamonds?" she scoffed. "Please, I do this for the chaos, the freedom. I don't need your self-help nonsense. I don't need your right-wing ideals, your protein shakes, or your obsession with order. The real issue is how you men hold on to control. It's gross." Joe crossed his arms, clearly amused. "And what do you propose, huh? You want to just smash the system and start over with your bat and claws? Is that the solution?" Catwoman flicked her hair, leaning in close. "That's part of it, yes. But more importantly, destroying the mindset you've built your whole life on. Men like you think you have all the answers, but you're so blinded by your own version of strength that you don't even see the truth. Men have systematically oppressed women for generations." Joe leaned back again, letting out a long, exasperated sigh. "Here we go again. So let me get this straight. You're blaming me, a guy who's just trying to encourage people to take control of their lives, for society's problems? Because I think women can be strong and independent too?" Catwoman paused, unsure how to respond. She wasn't used to being called out so directly, and it rattled her. But instead of backing down, she waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, please. You just don't get it. You're too stuck in your box, Rogan. There's more to life than lifting weights and talking about self-discipline. I mean, do you see me lifting dumbbells? No. I use my mind, my freedom, my claws, and yes, sometimes my mallet, to show the world that chaos is the real answer. Joe raised an eyebrow. Chaos? You think just wreaking havoc is the way to go? Throwing things out of balance? That's where you're wrong. Balance is the key, Harley. But I mean, Catwoman, whatever you want to call yourself, you don't get to just be a one-woman wrecking crew and claim it's the solution. Catwoman's eyes flashed with mischief. Balance? Oh, you're adorable. But you know what, Rogan? Maybe you're right. Maybe you can lift your way out of this mess, but I think I'll stick to my own methods. Chaos works for me. I'll just let you keep trying to fix the system, one protein shake at a time. But mark my words, you'll never fix a system that's built on lies. Joe smirked, unfazed. Well, at least I won't be leaving the world in a puddle of confusion. You know, chaos might be fun for a while, but self-discipline is what actually gets things done. Let's agree to disagree, Catwoman. Catwoman snickered as she started to slip away, but not before tossing one last zinger. Oh, Rogan, you can keep your discipline, but when the world crumbles, you'll wish you had a little more chaos to guide you. Joe nodded thoughtfully, a knowing grin on his face. And you'll probably still be trying to steal diamonds while everything burns. With that, she was gone, slipping back into the shadows, leaving Joe alone in his podcast studio with nothing but the sound of distant sirens and a few lingering thoughts about the intersection of freedom, chaos, and self-discipline. And as always, the world continued on, struggling with balance, one ridiculous argument at a time.